All right, guys. Well, today is Monday, August 31st. We're the last day in August and moving into the month of September and hopefully some slightly cooler weather, but we'll see how that goes. Anyways, I'm going to start recording the answers to the math minutes instead of just taking pictures and sending them to you, just because as we start to get up in the minute numbers, the skills will get to be a little bit more difficult, or at least something slightly more foreign from what you have had in the past. And in some cases, they are skills that you have had once or twice in the past, but may not remember them as well. So, okay, round each number to the nearest 10. We got to remember we have ones, then tens. We underline and we look behind. If it's 4 or less, we leave it alone. If it's 5 or more, we add one more. So we have 2, 4. It's less, so we're going to go from 20 to 24. Here we have hundreds, tens, ones. Underline and look behind. And I have a 1 behind the 1, so this is going to remain the same in the 10 or in the hundreds place. The tens place is going to remain the same, but this 1 over here is going to become a 0. Then we have 107. I'm going to underline and look behind. So remember, the number I'm looking to adjust is this 0. It's either going to remain the same at 0 or go up to 1. So my 1 in the hundreds place will remain the same. It is 7. 7 is greater than 5, or 5 or greater. And so therefore this 0 is going to become a 1, and the 7 is going to become a 0. So that one is closer to 110. And when you think about it, that makes sense because 107 is closer to 110 than 100. Okay, so moving along, let's look at number 2. Which of the following shapes has a right angle? Now I know that the right angle is not indicated in any of these shapes, but they're asking you to look and make your best educated guess. So I'm going to look here and see that this does look to me like a right triangle. I know that I added the square in the corner to remind you that this is a 90-degree angle. But if I look at D, I see that these are all obtuse angles. If I look at B, I see that these are all acute angles. And if I look at A, I have 2 acute angles and 2 obtuse angles. So C is my only reasonable answer. So again, we talk about reasonableness, and sometimes we really just have to think, what is a reasonable answer here? And C is a reasonable answer. Number 3, which of the following groups of number is in order from least to greatest? Okay, so I know that you guys have been doing least to greatest forever, because we learn about least to greatest in kindergarten when you start talking about which one's greater, 5 or 9. But here's the thing. For some reason, when we see least to greatest, sometimes our head plays tricks on us and we start thinking about greatest to least. And inevitably, one of these answers is usually greatest to least. So let's look to see if there is a least to greatest response. So first of all, I just want to point out 98, 94, 36, 29. This is that greatest to least response. So I know that this is the trick response that they put in there to make sure that I am paying attention to the order. Remember that order matters. Order always matters, by the way, guys. We'll talk about how order matters in other locations in math later on throughout the school year. So order matters. It must be least to greatest. So C is that one that was placed in there to trick me. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of it because I don't want it to trick me again. So now I'm going to look from least to greatest. So I'm going to just do a general look and go 200, then down to 199. That's great. That's greater than smaller. I have 108 down to 106. Again, that's not least to greatest. It's going the opposite direction to start with. Now I have 323 up to 411. Okay, so far so good. Up to 421. Up to 506. Okay, so this is the only option in which all 4 numbers are going from the smallest number then in the group to the largest number in the group. Number 4, which of the following is not? Again, They capitalize it for you just to say, like, look, guys, pay attention to this word, not equal to 45. So again, I have to look here and go, all right, which one of these is not 45? So let's see what this one is. 3 times 10 is 30. 30 times 2 is 60. So A is not equal to 45. 3 times 3 is 6. I'm sorry. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 5 is 45. It's a good thing I caught that mistake there. Otherwise, I would have been circling that one too. 10 plus 10 is 20, plus 10 is 30, plus 10 is 40, plus 5 is 45. And last but not least, we have D, 50 minus 5 is 45. So it's just A, but I did want to solve all of those questions because sometimes they are, select all that apply. So I just want to make sure. Okay, number 5, 12 times blank equals 48. So before I even answer this question, I just want to tell you that this is algebra. This is truly just algebra. 12x, or 12 times some imaginary number, not imaginary number, but unknown number, is equal to 48. And in order to get my variable alone, I'm going to divide both sides by 48 to get rid of the 12 on this side and leave the x all by itself. We don't like algebra, right? Algebra is the combination of reading and numbers, and it just is not okay. So we always want to get the x by himself. We want to make him alone. We want to leave him out there in the cold all by himself to punish him for throwing letters into math. So we're going to leave him alone. He's now all by himself. And on this side, after we do 48 divided by 12, we get 4. In this case, we can put 4 in the box. I can go 12 times 4 equals 48. I do want to remind you that you've been using this box since kindergarten. In kindergarten, you did 2 plus the box equals 7. What is in the box? What's in the box? That was all algebra. Even in those earliest stages, that was algebra. We just did not call it algebra. Complete the pattern. 1/2, 2/3, 3/4. If I look across the top, my numerator increases by 1. If I look across the bottom, my denominator increases by 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. So we have 4/5. Number 7, which shape has the greater area? Area. Remember that area is equal to length times width. So again, this is a function of geometry that you may not yet have had an awful lot of time to study. So we practice this regularly in our math minutes. So 5 times 8 is equal to 40. And 3 times 12 is equal to 36. So in this case, the greater number is 40. So shape A has the greater area with 40 inches squared. And the reason for this is because I'm multiplying inches by inches. That means I have 2 inches, or I'm multiplying inches by itself, so I'm going to square it. Number 8, which car weighs the most? So we just have to look over here. There's only one car that's above 3,000, so that's the red car. Most, of course, meaning greatest. How much more does the red car weigh than the green car? So we're going to do 3,196 minus 2,500. Now, I am going to do the subtraction, but I just want to remind you that another 500 would get me to 3,000 plus 196. So 696 is what I'm going to guess is the appropriate answer, but let's go ahead and do the subtraction. 6 minus 0 is 6. 9 minus 0 is 9. And then we have 1 minus 5, which we can't do. So we're going to take from the 2 in the thousands place and create 10 more hundreds, which is 11 minus 5, and that is 6. So we're going to say 696. I'm going to go back because I like to complete my math sentences. It's weight in pounds. So this is 696 pounds. heavier than the green car. Okay, multiplication of decimals. Now, this is definitely an area, again, where I'm glad to have started videotaping these so that way you guys can remember the steps. They will come up time and time again, and then we do have an entire chapter in our math book dedicated to working with decimals. So this doesn't hurt to start out a little earlier. So please don't put any decimals into your answers until we're all done. 6 times 2 is 12. I'm going to bring down the 2, carry my 1. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Now I'm going to look back at the original problem. I have 2 digits beyond the decimals in my original problem. So I'm going to go 2 digits beyond the decimal in my product. So my answer is 72 hundredths. When multiplying decimals, please be aware that most of the time you will actually get a number less than 1, even though in this case, we have the number 1 there. If you want to know other strategies, I'm happy to let you know other strategies. If you remember how to multiply fractions, you would see that this is 1 and 2 tenths, which is 10, 11, 12. So this is really 12 tenths times 6 tenths. And then you'd see that you have 72 over 100, which is really just 72 hundredths. We write that as a decimal. Again, practicing writing decimals is extremely important. In 6th grade, you will need to know how to go from fraction to decimal to percent and back again, and in any order. 7 times 4 is 28. I bring down the 8. I carry the 2. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 2 is 9. Again, I have 1 decimal here, 1 decimal here, that's 2. So I'm going to go 2 decimals, 2 places beyond the decimal in my answer, and it's 98 hundredths. Just to once again provide an example for you, I have 14 tenths times 7 tenths, and that's going to make 98 hundredths. 98 hundredths written this way is equivalent to 98 hundredths written this way as a decimal. Then we have 2 and 6 tenths and 8 tenths. So 8 times 6, or 6 times 8 is 48. I bring down the 8, I carry my 4. 8 times 2 is 16, plus 4 is 20. I'm 2 digits beyond the decimal in my original problem. So I'm going to go 2 digits beyond the decimal in my answer, or my product. So I'm going to insert the decimal point there, and I'm going to get 2 and 8 hundredths. So if I want to play that out, 2 and 6 tenths. So for me, I apologize, but you kind of have to make sure I'm doing the math right here before I actually tell you what it is. 10 times 2 is 20, plus 6 is 26. I just wanted to make sure before I wrote it out. 26 over 10, because the denominator does not change, times 8 tenths, which is 8 over 10. Because I am looking here at a large number, 26 and 8, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cross cancel. 8 and 10, remember when you cross cancel, you can only do diagonally, are both divisible by 2. So this becomes 4 and this becomes 5. Although that doesn't make it much easier for me. 26 times 4 is going to be 104, I think. Doesn't sound right to me. 5 times 10 is 50. 50 goes into 100. 2 total times. And then that leaves 4 fiftieths, which if I double 50, that gives me 100. And if I double 4, that gives me 8. So it's 2 and 8 hundredths, or in this case, it would have been 2 and 4 fiftieths. So again, 2 different ways that you can utilize multiplication. But please know how to do them both. They'll be very important in 6th grade as well as in 7th grade. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching this, and hopefully that helped. Okay, and I apologize because now I'm trying to get things to close so that I can shut this down.